Hello everyone, welcome to Slide Razor, the only YouTube channel that shows you how to impress your audience with great slides. We're going to be analyzing slides and transforming them into better versions of themselves, as well as showing you some tips and proven methods on how to impress your audience with great slides. So hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, and let's begin. So first things first, what is a title slide? A title slide is the very first slide that pops up when you start the presentation. It's the very first slide that is shown to any whiteboard or to any wall during a presentation, be it a conference, or it could be a class presentation, or it could be a job interview. Whatever the situation may be, the very first slide that is projected onto the screen is the title slide, and it has to be great. Because picture it this way: you're all dressed up with your suit looking all nice to give a presentation, and your title slide looks like this. Okay, if I'm in the audience, I'm going to yawn, I'm going to lose interest. So you have to make it great so it complements you. Okay, your title slide is the first slide that everyone sees and decides in their mind subconsciously whether or not to listen to your presentations. So you really have to put in a lot of work to make sure it stands out. Okay, we're going to be working on changing this particular title slide called Samsung Electronics. Well, this slide was done in September 2001, and I found it on SlideShare, and I decided, okay, let's work on this slide and improve it to make it memorable. So at the end of the day, I was able to completely transform this slide into this. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how we got from here all the way to here. So let's start. So we're going to be using Microsoft PowerPoint, and once you click on Microsoft PowerPoint and open it on your system, it's going to start you on the first page like this. You would usually have two boxes here. I removed mine because I don't usually like them, but for the sake of this, I'm going to create a new slide and show you guys what I mean. So you head over to Insert and click New Slide. Okay, or you could press Ctrl M on your keyboard. So here we go. Now look at how it's supposed to be. So these are the first things you see. So you can draw a box like this over them, the both of them, and delete. Or you could press Ctrl A on your keyboard and delete it. So we have a fresh blank canvas to work on. So if you notice from our already made version of the title slide, you could see we have some components of a title slide. So this takes us to the next question. What should your title slide contain? Okay, so now your title slide should contain the following. First things first, it will contain a solid header. Now if we look over at this title slide, we could see that the header is Samsung Electronics. Oops. The header is Samsung Electronics. So on this slide, it's not really that prominent. It's not really noticeable, but we all know that it's Samsung Electronics because, obviously it's above September 2001, which is the subheader. Taking us to the second point. Every title slide should contain a header and a subheader. So now, if we go over to our already made version, we could see we have the Samsung Electronics and a subheader in a better form. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you guys how we got here. So first things first, for us to insert a text, we need to insert a text box. So you go over to Insert and we go over to Text Box here. So if you click the small arrow beneath it, it takes you to two types of text box, horizontal and vertical. So click the horizontal text box and you draw it. So you type in Samsung Electronics. Oops. Wow, I was confused there. I was like, what am I spelling? Samsung Electronics. Okay. So now we have our text. Now, an extra rule of thumb for us to take note of, or an important point for you to always remember when creating your headers, is that they are supposed to be prominent and bigger than your subheaders. So we have to make it big. So we go over to home and increase the font here. Increase the font size. Depending on, you know, the type of presentation you're working on, you have to think about how big the font size is going to be. But always remember that the header is always going to be bigger. So if you've already noticed, there are some grid lines on my, on my screen or on in my presentation. So you could insert this by going to view and you go to guides. They're called guides, not grid lines. Grid lines look like this, but these are guides. So I use guides to divide my, my presentation or my slide into compartments so that I can decide what goes in what compartment. So now we could decide to put this header anywhere in all these 4 compartments. So I decided to put the header here because I felt it's going to look better here, because I have a picture in mind that I want to put over at this big corner. Okay, so I decided to put the header here, Samsung Electronics. Now we need a subheader. We go to insert and we go to text box and we add a subheader, which is September 2001. And if you spelled that one well. So we've inserted our subheader. Now your subheader should always be beneath the header. That makes sense. Don't go putting the subheader above or at the side like this. Above could be, it depends on, like I said, if it's above, that means you really want us to focus on this, but this is like an intro text before this. But if it's a subheader, it should be beneath the header. From the name subheader, at least you should know it should be beneath the header. So this is what it will look like. So Samsung Electronics, let's make it a bit bigger. So you select everything and right click on it. It shows you the option to increase the font. So we make it a bit bigger. So it just stands out and we know we're talking about Samsung Electronics. So what we do is we change the font. This is okay. This font is okay in my opinion. This is the very default font Samsung gives you, Calibri. I don't recommend you using Calibri because it's the first font that PowerPoint gives you. It's not really that, it doesn't look good. I'll be straightforward and blunt. It doesn't really look good in every situation. So it's always good to use custom fonts or any other font that looks good. So if we're going to use Alpha Slab 1 for the sake of this video, so this is what we're going to use. So we reduce the font a bit so that it matches and sticks here. Okay, now if you check the font size, it's 54. So what I usually do is I divide 54, or whatever the size of the header, whatever the font size of the header is, I divide it by 2 to get the font size of the subheader. You see, so that it kind of looks good. 54 divided by 2 is 27. Don't forget. So we increase the font size to, we're going to write there, 27. There we go. And we can see they're both visible and they look good. We're changing the font of the subheader so it looks a bit better. Okay, remember, no Calibri. We don't use Calibri. So I'm changing this to Acorn. If you need these fonts, just leave a comment in the comment section, and I'm going to send links to you on where to get this font. Alright, doesn't this look good? As compared to our title slide like this. It's just there, it's just bland. Like Chef Ramsay would say, it's bland. It's very bland. There's no seasoning, no spicing, so it's bland. So when you start like this with something like this, it already looks rich. Now if you add an image to this, everything just makes it look better. Okay, now when it comes to picking your image, it has to always be an image that is related to your presentation. One. Secondly, it has to be an image that is HD. Don't go picking all those blurry images or just JPEGs that when you make them big, they start to be blurry. Always look for PNGs, and they should be clean and HD. So one of the best places I get my HD images are from Unsplash. Okay, it's free, no copyright issues, and they are all HD. So you can go to unsplash.com. We're looking for an image that relates to Samsung electronics. So it could be a gadget, it could be anything electric. So I decided to just type electronics. What is going on with my spelling these days? Okay, so I searched and voila, you see, there you download. The only thing you have to give say thanks or an attribution to whoever took this image. So if you download, be sure to say thanks. This photo is by Mouth Winging, so Mouth Winging, I say thank you. We've downloaded the image. Next thing is to insert the image. So you go to insert tab over here and go to pictures. So PowerPoint has made it easy for you. Just use the tabs and you find it. So you go to downloads for me, and there we go, the image. We insert it. Okay, you can see the headset is positioned at the right of this image. So it kind of brings some kind of emphasis to that headset. So it's the kind of image I was looking for. So I could put my text over at this point and we could see the headset clearly. Alright, so now it's like this. It's obviously not good enough. We're going to have to crop it and make it fit. So we go to this tab, format, and we go to what? Crop. So when you crop, it allows you to spread the image over the entire slide. So all we need to do is to go to these places. You could see that there are like new borders around the image. So we go over here, your cursor will change to something like this. We pull it to this end, we go over here and pull it to this end. Now for most of you that are already used to this method, we tend to click this place and drag it to fill the slide. That's good, but for me it's a hassle. It's a long process. We just head on over back to the format tab, click the small arrow and go to fill. Voila, PowerPoint does the job for you. So as it's filled, obviously it's covering our text, so we send it to back. So we click the image, click on format, and we click on what? Send. You can see send backward here. You could click send backward multiple times, which would be like this, or we could just send it to back like this. I clicked to bring it to front previously just to make my illustration clearer. Alright, now we're done. We're heading somewhere. Okay, we're heading somewhere. Now you could see how this looks. Let's kind of reduce this font size a little bit. And then we reduce. Remember, anything you do to the header, you have to do to the subheader. Don't forget. So that all looks good. Okay. Oops. Okay, now let's leave it there. This is okay. Okay? You could stop here if you want, but I always like to go further in anything I'm doing, just to add a little bit of spice to everything. So I decided to look for a logo. Since we're talking about Samsung, we can as well as add a Samsung logo to the presentation. It will be fun, right? Just to make everything look spectacular. So we're heading over to a new tab. We type Samsung logo. Now there are some logos here. Obviously we're going to look for the ones in transparent background. So don't forget, you need to find the ones in transparent background, because if you get those that have a white box, it's going to be difficult to insert them into the picture. And one more thing to take note of is the color. We could see that we're working with already two colors already, black and yellow. So the logo is going to have to match. If you put in the blue one, it's going to be a bit off. So we're going to look for the logo that matches everything, which would be a black logo. A white one would be, it won't really fit. So let's go and find a black Samsung logo. Oh, we're seeing one already here. Okay, this looks good, but I chose this image because we could do something to this image to make it match, because I couldn't find any logo of Samsung that obviously would just be black like this and with space. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove the white from this logo. Now some of you might be wondering how we do that, so I'm going to show you something. This is an extra tip in PowerPoint. So drum roll please. An extra tip in PowerPoint, which is called the transparent tool. So let's remove the white in this logo. We go to format, we go to color. Now we select transparent color, and we go over here. Now we need to click which color we need to make transparent. So in this case we need to make the white transparent, so we select it. Boom, voila, everything that was white in this image is gone. Now we shorten, oops, that's not what I meant to do, but I guess we just have to flip it over again. Control Z for Control Z when you make mistakes like this. Okay, 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 oh, no, okay. Now this is good. Alright, now Samsung Electronics with the Samsung logo here. We can make this logo a bit smaller. Let it just be like, you know, Samsung. Okay. Now if you look over here, okay, alright, okay, everything still looks good. So you can decide to stop here. Now if we compare this with our previous title slide, don't you think that other title slide is better? Because you could clearly see here that we're talking about 1, Samsung, 2, an electronic, and 3, you could see the date. If this presentation was to be in 2020, for the sake of, you know, this, we could do it like this, 2020, good, in 2020. So looking at this is bland. This has nothing to it. I will not remember this because there was nothing visually appealing in this slide. Okay, it's just there, Samsung Electronics. And the funny thing is, most of the slides I've seen, they are almost like this. They might not have the gradient behind, but they'll be like just 2 lines. Let's say for example Samsung Electronics by, they put in their name, or title, some right title, or however it's being combined. You need your title slide to stand out. Now if I come to give a presentation with this kind of title slide, I won't feel confident, because it's not really going to back me up. I might have the great skills, you know, presentation skills, but if I come to give a presentation for a job and this is the first slide, I will be proud, because, you know, this looks good and I'm proud of it. So you could stop here if you want, but for those of you that want more, that want to impress your audience more, we could go on ahead to add some shadows to our header. So there are two ways to do this. We could use the first way of selecting all, go to home and click this text shadow. Once you click it once, the text has a shadow, and it even looks better than, it looks okay. Let me not say it looks better than the previous one, but it looks okay. Or we could Control Z it, that's to undo the shadow, select all, right click, and we go to what? Format shape. I didn't go to format text effects, format shape. I'll show you why. Now you go to text options and go to what? Text effects, and we go to shadow. Now we just choose any of these ones. Let's choose this one. There we go, and voila, still the same, and it looks good. So when you've done something like this, let's get this out of the way and let's make this big. When you've done something like this and it's your first slide and it's behind you as you're speaking, it's great. Everyone will be interested. It's obvious that I will leave your presentation, even though I don't remember anything from the presentation. I will remember that there was a yellow first slide. It had a headset on it, and I think they were talking about Samsung. You see my point. You see the point I'm trying to pass across is your title slide has to be memorable. It has to be something remarkable so that people will remember it, and it has to also be visually appealing. So don't forget all this. And if you're able to do this, if you're able to follow all the tips I've listed out before, you're going to have a great title slide. Also, don't forget, make sure the image used for your title slides are matching the context of the slide. They're referring to whatever it is. If it's electronics, make sure the image is showing an electronic. If it's food, make sure it's showing food. If it's health, make sure it's showing health. Whatever it is, construction, make sure it's showing construction. Don't use a random image for a random presentation context. It's going to look very bizarre. So always make sure that everything is in conjunction with one another. And another extra tip I'm going to give is make sure the colors match. You could see that this title slide, the headset is black and my text is black. That means in my other further slides I can decide to use black font color throughout, and it's still going to look good because it's matching. So always make sure that they are matching colors. I end up using a picture that has multiple colors, maybe something like this, something like this, or something like this. Just always try to use neutral colors that would blend in. Okay, that was my extra tip for you guys. Go out there and make some great slides. See you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. See ya.